Let's talk about analogy by Tejani Bahadur. The poem is a metaphor. The beggar is an analogy for a country. The beggar suffers from leprosy, which is also an analogy for corruption. The leprosy has been caused by a worm, which is also an analogy for bad leaders or bad governance. The beggar is ailing, just like the country's economy, and he compares it to a shattered snake. He has dragged the country, the leaders have dragged the country down, whereas it can do better than it does actually or presently if the resources of the country were properly managed. The fact that the country has so much resources, yet it is an ailing economy, is a pity. That is the reason why the personal thinks that the situation is one of pretense. The beggar, which may symbolize a developing country, can remove the worms, in bracket, bad governance and leaders, that cause leprosy, in bracket, corruption. So the beggar is an analogy for a developing country, and the worm is an analogy for bad leadership that cause corruption, that cause leprosy, which is an analogy for corruption. The speaker wonders aloud what he can do to such a corrupt leader. Should he put a bullet in his brain and kill him? But the speaker feels pity for the leader and wonders if he is cheating his compatriots. At the beginning of the poem, the persona adopts a contemptuous attitude towards the worm, but at the end, his attitude tends to doubt. He wonders if the beggar is better off dead or alive, and if the beggar is simply pretending. The speaker in the last stanzas wonders if killing the beggar country would subdue his pain, which is greater than death itself. The speaker simply says that drastic and painful decisions have to be made for the country to heal from the ills of corruption and bad governance. The persona doubts whether the beggar is simply pretending to be ill. Unless this is done, these countries will continue to beg for aid and borrow money from the developed countries. Ironically, these developing countries have a lot of resources, yet they stagger under the weight of poverty and misery. The country has reduced its citizens to beggars. The poem is about bad governance from its leaders that have transformed a naturally rich country with resources to an ailing economy due to bad leadership. This is a clear indication that Africa's problem is with its leaders, who have sold out all of its resources to their masters, and they are very incompetent while in office. The consequence is that the African masses will continue to live in poverty, in bondage, in misery, as long as these bad leaders continue to lead them. This is also clear indication that these countries have not yet achieved true independence in the real sense of it. Metaphorically, the poet compares the state to a beggar, and the pains that the beggar is going through is due to the social and economic shutdown experienced by the whole country. He adds that the beggar is suffering from leprosy that has chopped his hands, and he is ashamed to display them publicly. This signifies the stagnation or whatever the country is suffering from has been caused by the entire country. The imagery of the worm of corruption illustrates that the entire country is on the verge of total collapse because of moral bankruptcy. The worm eats and has eaten deep into every sector of the country, leaving no one untouched. This is the reason why the blame is collective, because everyone participates in the ongoing corruption which has become institutionalized. The next imagery is a comparison of the beggar to a snake that has been trampled on by many feet and crushed and can barely carry its body. The body liquid that oozes out of its body can be seen on the trail that it has left behind. This is a clear indication that the country is on its knees, highlighting neglect, misery, and poverty. Ironically, the pain and discomfort that the country is going through is man-made and self-inflicted. In conclusion, the speaker becomes meditative, which indicates that something has to be done before the whole country collapses. Ironically, this is a country that is rich in minerals, yet it is suffering from economic breakdown. This is the fate of many African countries, and the speaker indicts everyone who participates in one way or the other to perpetuate corruption and other corrupt malpractices in the country.